Hi all, a very good morning and welcome to the AWS introduction session. I hope I'm audible to everyone, so you guys can put in your comments in the chat box. Let me know if you guys are able to hear me. Thanks for your inputs, Kapil. How about others? Are you guys able to hear in?
Yeah, yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, thanks. So there are two ways you guys can communicate with me, either with the chat box or maybe with the computer audio. You can just open up the mic and you guys can also talk to me directly. So in case if you feel there are any queries or doubts in case while we are discussing about the introduction session, you guys can surely open up in the chat box as well as onto the mic and then speak to me. So that I'll come to know if there are any queries from your side. So great. I guess a lot of people are able to hear through, and let's get started with it. Okay, so I guess only there's one person, Sunny, who has got a problem with the audio. Rest apart, as I see it from my attendees list, all are well. So we'll just wait for one more minute to see if these guys are able to resolve the problem, and then we'll further move on to get started with introduction to AWS Cloud.
ఒక అబ్బాయి కనిపించట్లేదండి.
Okay, I guess Sunny should be able to hear me. Sunny, are you able to hear in?
Yes, I'm able to hear you.
Sure, that's great. Okay, so we are good to start in now. So the first thing that we are going to look forward is with what is cloud, and then we'll move on to what is cloud computing, different types of cloud models, and then we'll look what are the cloud competitors available in the market and why AWS as such to learn. So myself, Pawan, I'm working in as a cloud architect and a DevOps architect for past 3 years now, and it's been an overall journey of 10 plus years in the IT sector today. So I'm working in the AWS cloud along with the DevOps to help in migrate the existing applications as well as develop some new applications and build them upon with a continuous integration and continuous delivery part. So today we are going to get started with the introduction to Amazon Web Services as well as the cloud computing. So before we move on to what is Amazon Web Services as a cloud, we'll first learn what is cloud computing. So we do hear a lot of buzzword from each of the people talking in and around. There's a cloud that is coming up. There are a lot of opportunities that are going to come in the cloud. What is cloud actually all about? When people talk about it, yes, there is something that is coming new in the IT segment that is all about cloud, and people are really curious to know what is cloud computing. Some people are confused whether this is really a part of cloud computing or not. So first, let's get a clear understanding on what is cloud computing. So cloud computing is basically on-demand delivery of IT resources and applications via internet with pay-as-you-go pricing. So basically, it is on-demand delivery. So whenever you want the delivery, it is available of IT resources specifically. It's not about anything else, but it's about IT resources and the applications. What are IT resources and applications here? Specifically, when we talk about the databases, specifically when we talk about storage, specifically when we talk about the virtual machines, all these are IT resources. So if you want any one of them at any moment of time, you will be able to get it with the help of cloud computing. And how are we going to connect to it? Basically, we are going to use internet to get connected to it. And how are we going to pay for it? We are going to pay only for the amount of time I'm going to use it. Now, to give you a very good example to relate this, we all have electrical meter at our home, right? So we all know how electrical services actually work. So specifically, there are third-party companies or maybe the central government companies who invest in putting up this power plant at some destination in specific state or specific country. What they do, they generate power. So it can be a thermal power plant, it can be a hydro power plant, or it can be something else. Solar power plant are much more in use these days. So it can be any kind of power plant from where we are basically generating power, and it is distributed across all the villages and the cities. Now, how do we track how much electricity is being used by each of the person? So specifically, they have fitted up an electrical meter at each home, and then thereby we are tracking how many number of units are being consumed by a specific consumer. Now, similar is the case when we talk about the cloud computing. Basically, you create your own AWS account, or basically you create your own Azure account, or maybe the Google Cloud account. You get inside that specific cloud vendor and you start using the services. Now here you already have a home and electrical meter is fitted across, and people are basically going to use the electricity that is provided at their home. Now, what are the services that you're going to use? Specifically, I'll switch on the fan, maybe the TV, maybe air conditioner or tube light, bulb, mixer grinder, internet connection, laptops, computers, and a lot of different things. Right, so I might use any one of them. It depends upon my own use case. I might use it. So fan, bulbs, tube lights are the most common appliances that each and every household is basically going to use. Now, whenever you switch on the light, you want it to be available, right? So that is nothing but on demand. So whenever you switch it on, it is available for you to use. It's up to you how much you want to consume, but yes, it is available all the time. So if you want to switch on a mixer grinder, or if you want to switch on an AC, that's fine. You can switch it on and immediately it's going to start off, because electricity is always connected to your doorstep. Similar is the case when we go down to the AWS cloud. So when we are connected with the specific cloud company, whatever services I want, whether it is in terms of storage or whether it is in terms of databases, whether it is in terms of computing machines, so I'll be able to go ahead and use any one of them at any moment of time, because I am connected with the help of internet to this cloud vendor. And how are we going to pay? So in this case of electrical services also, I'm going to pay only for the amount that is specifically charged upon this electrical meter. So similar is the case in the cloud computing as well. I am going to pay only for the amount of time I have basically used the services, right? So more and more the cloud computing is as same as the way electrical services analogy is all about. So now if anyone asks you what is the cloud computing, you should be able to basically describe it is on-demand delivery of IT resources and applications. On-demand delivery basically means it is available all the time, like Gmail or a Google Drive. So if you want to store something on Google Drive, you just go and click drive.google.com, enter your email ID and password, and you can get started with it, right? So that's so easy and it is always available, right? So it is basically on-demand delivery of the IT resources and applications. How are you getting connected? That is basically via internet. And how are you going to pay? Basically, we are going to pay only for the amount of time I have basically used them. So that was all about the cloud computing as a definition. Now we know what is cloud computing. Let's get a understanding on what is public cloud model, private cloud models, and the hybrid cloud models. So there are basically three cloud models that we talk about: public, private, and the hybrid cloud models. So public is something where you see there are some inlets from where we can go inside. So everyone should be able to use it. And if you see the private, it is completely private in nature. Not everyone will have access. Only certain users will have access. So it is a restricted network. And when we talk about the hybrid, basically we are trying to combine the public and the private cloud models, and we are trying to build a hybrid one. So these days, all the corporates are following this hybrid cloud model where they already have something on their private clouds, and now they are trying to integrate with the public clouds. One sec, guys. Are you able to hear now? Okay, so we were just talking about the public, private, and the hybrid cloud models. So as I said, public cloud models, who are they? Now, when we talk about the cloud providers like Amazon, cloud provider like Azure or Google, these are all public cloud providers. And the private clouds are nothing but what existed before. So each company had their own private cloud, and they used to, it was not cloud basically, you can say, it was just a private data center within their own company premises, which they used it for their internal purposes. Now things are moving ahead. People are not investing anymore in setting up the private data centers at all, because it is going to cost them a lot. So let me give you a scenario what happens in this case here. Now this is the complete cloud model. This is a private or internal cloud. This is the one in the public. In the public also you can create your own private space. That's why these circles are appearing up. So in the public cloud models, we can create our own private space, in which we will have only access to certain limited people. And when we try to combine the private and the public cloud models, we are basically making a hybrid. Now if you see the diagram exactly below the private cloud model, this is basically showing up how the data centers are actually set up. So specifically, this is a company, let's say, where I work, and this company has got some projects or some clients with which it is working. So for those clients, we have to build a software, right? So let's take an example of here. XYZ company. So I'm just taking a specific example of XYZ company here. And now let's say this company has got some clients, maybe something like bigger clients, let's say like Toyota or Suzuki, for which we have actually built some softwares, right? So those specific softwares are being used by these companies. So now whenever we build a software, we need to host it somewhere. To host it somewhere, we need some hardware devices or the servers, right? So how do we get it, all of them? So this XYZ company actually goes ahead and invests in all those hardware components. Now, for the people who are wondering what can be the hardware components, it is basically they have to buy the servers, they have to buy the racks on which they'll keep the servers, they have to buy the air conditioners to ensure that the room where these servers are being kept, that are always cooled, because we all know that computer devices or the electronic devices get heated up. So we need to basically get them cooling, and we need electricity, of course, to get this running. We need routers, pipelines, and switches. These are all basically, like, I would require routers are like something like switches to switch it on and switch it off, pipelines to connect all the hardware components, switches and other things are also again required, right? So these are all the hardware components that are required by this XYZ company. And once they are purchased up, I'll go ahead and build. I need a specific space in my company itself where I'm going to set this up. And on in this space, where once this all is been set up, my developers are going to develop the application on top of these servers. So someone might be working in a Java application, someone might be working in .NET, or someone would be working in a SAP or something else, right? So all these applications are specifically built and they are provided to the clients. So this combination is completely called as private cloud, private space, or private cloud, we can call it as, because it's just private to their company itself. No one else has access. Specifically the clients with which the XYZ company is dealing, only they will have the access to these components. That's it. So investing in all these servers, racks, electricity, ACs, routers, pipelines, switches, it is actually basically a cost to a company, right? So it is basically cost. Now what happens, we all know that whatever computer or a laptop or a mobile device which we have purchased 4 years back might not be in the same situation today, right? Lot of the electronic components get, lot of the electronic components basically get deprecated with the time. So yesterday you might have had the configuration of 8 GB RAM and maybe let's say i5 system, but maybe after 5 years it would be a little outdated.
వాయిస్ రావడం లేదు, డిస్ప్లే వస్తుంది, వాయిస్ రావడం లేదు. అందుకే నువ్వు లాగిన్ ఒకసారి.
So basically we are going to incur the cost for all of these things, right? So once the things are going to get deprecated, it becomes very difficult for me to go ahead and upgrade all of these things. One second, guys. Is one of the attendee with the name Allah Baksh. Can you please keep it on mute? Okay, so we were discussing about our private cloud space, right? So what happens, I specifically have a XYZ company who has got certain clients, and in order to cater the needs of this specific client, we have invested in hardware components to set up the complete space in our company. Now what happens, as I said, with the time, all these servers or even the ACs as the electronic components, we know they all get deprecated. So I need to upgrade all these components every few years. So it becomes really difficult because cost is again a factor which is going to come into picture. So maybe after 4 years, again I have to invest in the new servers because they will be upgraded and will give me a better performance. Because today I cannot work with the same system which has got 2 GB of RAM. I still remember when 10 years back I joined the first corporate company, I was still working on a desktop and that had just 512 MB RAM, and I worked on that system for almost a couple of years or more than that, and then I was finally upgraded for 1 GB of RAM on the system. And I still remember how slow the applications were, and at the time we also had a very slow internet connection. Yes, of course, in the last few years, I will say last couple of years, where we had a lot of changes in the internet, we are able to connect to the things much faster, and today we are also able to have this kind of online sessions. So earlier it was not possible to even have an online session because the internet speed would not help in. Maybe if I have a good internet speed, if you guys do not have it, you will not be able to get through, right? So technology is changing very fast, so we need to be always up to date on the different kind of things. So similar things happened with the private cloud space. So now the companies have hugely invested, but it's becoming a lot of cost for them because day in and out the technology is changing. They need to invest in high-end servers, they need to purchase a lot of things, so it becomes difficult. Now companies like Amazon, companies like Azure, companies like Google, what they said, we are going to maintain the data centers, do not worry about it, just get started with the spinning up a server or storing the data or the information directly with us on the cloud centers. So that is when the public clouds came into picture. So all this complete hardware and hardware components and the space is managed by the cloud vendor, and I'm going to only use those servers for the amount of time I want it for. So this is really cool. If I'm using the server only for 1 hour in a day, I'm going to only pay for 1 hour. So but if I purchase the server and keep it in my private data center, whether I use it for 1 hour or whether I use it for 10 days or whether I use it for single day, it doesn't matter, but I still have already incurred the cost of putting it in, purchasing it, right? So in terms of cloud, I do not have to worry even about all those things. I do not have to purchase, I do not have to do anything. If I want to use it only for 1 hour, I can do that, right? So the cost gradually has reduced with the cloud data centers. So now all of them are basically trying to move away from the private and they are trying to move to public cloud. That is a major reason why the people are actually moving ahead, because it is going to give them a lot of savings in the cost. So when we talk about the hybrid cloud models, yes, they exist because all the private cloud centers, whatever are available, they do have a lot of data which is available in their data centers, and it takes a while to transfer all of them to the public cloud. As I'm working in current situation, let me give you one small example. We are trying to migrate the applications which are actually deployed on the Windows operating system, and we are trying to migrate SAP applications. So we know the difficulty. It is not that easy just to lift it from the private data center and shift it back to the public, right? So it's not that easy. Of course, we need to see what is the configuration, how is it being done, what are the important things to be carried off from here, whether I'll be able to establish a connectivity with all the databases in behind the scene. So a lot of things come into the picture. So it does take at most 4 to 5 months in order to migrate at least one application from normal data center to the public clouds. But yes, once you already know the practice or the pattern of moving the SAP applications, you will be able to do the other applications a little faster, right? So that is how it's happening. So private cloud centers are still existing, and there is going to be a need for the AWS and the DevOps in the upcoming days, at least for the next 5 to 10 years, where all the companies are planning to migrate it to the cloud. So there are going to be ample opportunities that are going to be coming up in the 2018, 2019, and 2020. So at least for the next 5 years, I do see AWS cloud, Azure cloud, and the Google cloud as well, the DevOps picking up the market for a lot of job opportunities. So that was about the different cloud models, that is public cloud model, private cloud model, and the hybrid cloud model. Now, before we go ahead a little more into deep, let's understand what is IaaS, PaaS, and the SaaS. Now, IaaS is basically infrastructure as a service, PaaS is basically platform as a service, and the SaaS is basically software as a service. So that is basically a definition of IaaS, PaaS, and the SaaS. Let me explain you in a little more detail. Now, we just discussed an example about a very small thing like XYZ company, which already has a couple of clients like Toyota and the Suzuki. Right, so we just saw that each of these companies are actually investing in all of these hardware components, and they also need to have a space where they can actually set it up, right? So let's check out what happens in the traditional IT company. So let's forget about IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS for now, and let's see what happens in a traditional IT company. Now, whenever you get a new project from a Toyota company or from a Suzuki company, now your company as a XYZ has to really work out what is the requirement. You will have to see how long it will take to develop that specific application, what all are basically required for those applications, and you have to figure it out. So specifically, you will first think about, once the application is finalized, you will first think about how much server hardware is required, how much storage devices are required, what all networking devices would be required to connect these things. So specifically, you will have to go down to market, purchase the hardware, purchase the storage devices, and then on top of it, purchase some networking devices like wirings, network pipelines, switches, and other things. So you are going to basically connect all these three. And once you have connected all these three, you need a network admin who will set up a virtualization layer on top of this server hardwares. Now, what is a virtualization layer? Virtualization layer is basically which helps you to have different kind of systems on a same server. Like I'll have my same laptop, in the single laptop I can have both the machines like Linux and Windows. Similarly, on the same server hardware, we are basically going to set up a virtualization layer so that people who want to have a Linux machine can spin up a Linux machine and start using it. People who want to have a Windows machine can go ahead and spin up a Windows machine and start using it, right? So that is basically the virtualization layer. So virtualization basically helps me to set it up to divide the different kind of operating systems to be available on the same server hardware. So this is how it happens in the traditional IT, where the companies initially used to invest in all these components, and then they used to set up a virtualization layer on top of it. And then now my architect comes into picture and he says that I would like to have some Windows servers, some Linux servers, and some Ubuntu servers, something as such. And also he will design what kind of database is needed, whether it is a MySQL, whether it's a Oracle, whether it's a DB2, or whether it's a PostgreSQL or something else. And once the servers and databases are being decided by my architect, my developers are going to start building the application, and they are going to run those applications. And as our security engineer is going to ensure that all of them are tightly integrated as well as secured from the any attacks. So this is how the traditional IT company is specifically working for long time. Now the things have changed. Now after the cloud has come into picture, we have specifically divided our solutions into three different parts, that is IaaS, PaaS, and the SaaS. So when we talk about the IaaS, in this case here, I do not have to worry about all these last four parts. As we just discussed, in the public clouds, what happens, I do not worry about any of these hardware components, nor the space or setting or the cost of setting this up. So I'm just straight away asking my network architect, I'm just asking my architects to straight away design what kind of servers are needed, what kind of databases are needed. I'm asking my developers what kind of applications you want to build, so that once the servers and the databases are ready by the architect, they can straight away start with their applications build, and they can run them, and then we can secure those applications. So I'm least bothered about what kind of hardware I have, what kind of storage devices I have, or where is this stored, where are these available. We are least bothered. So we are just getting connected with a specific cloud vendor, and we are asking him, I want a specific Linux server of so and so configuration. That's it. So I'll be able to get it, and I'll immediately start building the application and run it across. So the amount of time in setting all these four things up has gradually come down. So with the cloud providers, you can see the difference in here. So in the IaaS, basically I am eliminating the 4 portions. AWS is all 3 of them. We have all 3 different kind of services: IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. So different services are different types. So we are going to learn about all of them in detail. Like when we talk about Google Drive, where you can just store the devices, is where you can just store the PDF files, image files, or video files. That is basically a software as a service, right? Because that software is already pre-built and you just need to create a Google account and then you'll be able to store the files. Similarly, in the AWS cloud, we have something called as S3 storage service, which is classified as a software as a service because it is completely on-built software in which I can straight away go ahead and get started by storing the files. That is about SaaS. And when we come to learn about PaaS, PaaS is basically for the application developers who just want to code. They do not want to worry about what kind of server it is, where it is launched, who has decided, nothing. So if you think I want to build a Java application, we know that Java can be best built on the Linux based machines. So I can straight away get a Linux based machine and everything is pre-configured for me in the environment. Database is also already connected to the server. All I need to do is just develop my application and test it. So for the people who are developers or the testers, for them the PaaS becomes much easier. And SaaS is nothing but something like for every end user. So anything like Gmail is again a SaaS, or even if you talk about any application on the Android or iPhone or iStore, these are all basically SaaS solutions because someone has already built a solution and we are least bothered which server it is hosted on, what kind of database it uses, where it is going to run, what kind of application build it is. We are least bothered whether it's built in PHP, whether it is built in SAP, whether it's built in Python, or whether it is in Node.js. We are least bothered about it. All you need is a service, what kind of software it is, right? So now we are least bothered how Java is built, right? So we basically use the services and then we are happy with it. So SaaS is basically for the end users where they are least bothered about what is being done in this case. And PaaS is basically for the developers who just want to straight away build the applications. And IaaS is basically for the people like architects who are going to decide that I'm going to use this server, which is going to help me to save the cost, and I'm going to use this kind of database along with it, and this application will be best built on this kind of servers and other things. So if you have to plan everything, basically we'll go for the IaaS solutions. Or if you think you want to just plan for a little more, then you go for PaaS. And if you say you don't want to plan anything, I just straight away want to use the software, go for software as a service. So this diagram basically gives us a good picture on who uses what. Specifically, the architects are going to use the IaaS, application developers are basically going to use the PaaS, and the end users, who is everyone in this world, are going to use the SaaS, software as a service. So specifically in software as a service, some of the examples I gave is like email or a Google Drive where you can store some things. And specific examples of PaaS are where a developer wants to develop something in .NET, or someone wants to something develop in J2E, that is Java. So it is basically platform as a service. So basically they are going to get a ready platform in which they just have to start with the .NET application build or the Java application build, or maybe the Python, or maybe a PHP application build. It can be any application. And specifically in terms of IaaS, it basically is for the network engineers or the architects who are basically going to help us create a virtual platform. They're going to say that I'm going to use this server, this database, this operating system, which is going to be all interconnected, and then I'm going to build a solution. So that was all about the introduction to the cloud computing, different types of cloud models, and understanding what is IaaS, PaaS, and the SaaS. Now that we have a great understanding on what is cloud computing, different types of cloud models, how IaaS, PaaS, or SaaS works, let's get on to one of the best cloud vendors in the world, that is about Amazon. Now, why Amazon? There are a lot of cloud providers as well in the market, like Azure, GCP. Yes, they are there, but why people are not easier to use them? Because the way they are set up, it's not easy on those cloud providers, and it is a little complex to go with as well. The cloud models with the Azure and GCP are not mature yet. Amazon has been a cloud provider from the 2006, and today it stands out apart from all of this because it has matured itself in a very better way of applying it with the solutions. So we are going to learn about AWS because that's one of the best and the matured cloud model available in the market. So if you know the things are available in the cloud AWS, there are certain things which are available on the AWS, but they are not available on the Azure and GCP yet because they are still learning and trying to put the things across onto the cloud. But Amazon has been leading in putting up the new services every year on year. So now if you check out this specific diagram on the top of this arrow, I'm just trying to explain about the history of Amazon.com, and at the bottom of the arrow from 2006, if you see, we are talking about the AWS as a cloud. Amazon as a company never thought that he will be able to come into software services and he will be today one of the leading software industry as such. Yes, it was an e-commerce website when it started in 1994. Jeff Bezos, who is the CEO of this company, started this company by putting up the books by selling them door-to-door delivery. And then he came up with the idea that instead of selling them door-to-door delivery, I'm going to put it across onto the e-commerce platform where people can order it and then they'll be able to get started with it. So in 1995, he put it up as an e-commerce website, and it was the first online bookstore ever available. So if you guys, someone know about Barnes and Nobles, which is a famous publishing house, the Amazon CEOs had a meeting there itself when they came up with this idea that they are going to set up a Amazon.com. So there's, I'm not sure if you guys really know about it. I'll just check it out. Yeah, this is the place, this company. This is the place somewhere in US where the CEO of this Amazon company used to come down, purchase the books and sell it door to door to the people. And after that, they came up with the idea that they are going to start a first online store. And then this company today has lost a lot of business because of the Amazon. And they started selling it online from 1995. And in the span of next 10 years, there was a huge success that they established their own publishing house. Like Barnes and Nobles is one of the publishing house across the US when it started off in the early, but today Amazon has its own publishing house. So it's really a trend mark setting for the company itself, launching itself as an e-commerce company in 1995, and by 2005 it had its own publishing house, as well as not just selling the books, it was able to also sell the electronic products and a lot more on their e-commerce store. But during the span of 1995 to 2005, that is of 10 years, they also saw some things which were not helping them. Like, we all know that there's a Black Friday sale, there's a Thanksgiving sale, there's a Christmas sale, there's a New Year sale. Like in India, we do have like Big Billion Day sale, the Great Indian Festival sale, like from Amazon, or a Diwali sale, or a Dashera sale, right? So there are a lot of sales that happen in India as well. Similarly, there were a lot of sales that were usually happening up in the US, but they usually happen up only in the October, November, and December. Rest apart on the year, they do not have any other sale as such. But in India, of course, we do have a lot of festivals. So in India, every 1 or 2 months, we do get some of the other sale. So that's a different story. But when it was an online e-commerce store in US for the first time, the Amazon was one of the best known vendors. They had this Thanksgiving Day sale and other things where they already knew that there are not 10,000s, but at least millions of users who are going to come down to Amazon.com and order a lot of things. So they really faced a lot of difficult situations at the time to cater those million people. So they really had to invest in a lot of extra servers required during the sale, lot of extra storage devices, lot of extra servers. So after that sale was done, these servers were not used at all. So that is when the Amazon thought, can we rent out the extra servers which are not used for the time being? And then in 2006, officially Amazon Web Services was actually launched, where they used to just rent out the servers for the people who are in need for on hourly basis, so that they can make some money out of it. And no one ever thought that Amazon.com from an e-commerce company will become a giant software vendor in the cloud market today by developing their own solutions. So today they have their own research center who builds all this software and is making it a much bigger product. So apart from that, if you see on the top here, Amazon.com as a company has also grown a lot. So they have their own hardware devices like Amazon Kindle, Amazon Echo, and other things that have come up in recently are Amazon Fresh, Game Studios, Art, Amazon Prime. So now we also see that Amazon Prime is a video that is a competitor to the Netflix. Of course, they are growing a lot. So Amazon as an e-commerce website is also growing up, and AWS as a cloud is also growing up. So AWS full form basically stands for Amazon Web Services, and in 2006 they officially launched it, and in 2011 that was a game changer year for the Amazon, because what they have done is their own Amazon.com website, they moved it completely to the cloud. So they removed off all their physical data centers whichever were existing, and they completely moved onto the AWS cloud. So it was really a game changer for all the companies across the world. So when a giant like e-commerce website like Amazon.com can move on its complete infrastructure to the cloud, why can't any other company can do it? Because it had everything. You talk about the workflow, you talk about the payment gateways, you talk about the storing data, you talk about the servers, you talk about the big billion days sale, or you talk about any kind of sale that they used to hold it on the Amazon.com. Everything was possible on the AWS cloud. So it was really a game changer for the people in 2011, that if a giant like Amazon.com can move on its entire infrastructure, any company in this world will be able to do it across. And that was when the cloud bubble actually burst up. So from the last 6 years, the cloud has really emerged as a market, and people are shifting towards the cloud models. In 2013, Amazon launched AWS certifications, and in 2016, they launched 3 more specialty certifications, and today overall we have 8 certifications in the AWS. So depending upon your own choice of pursuing a career, you can choose the specific specialty certification across. Now moving to the next part in here, let's understand what is the difference on the traditional infrastructure and the AWS services. We learned in detail about the traditional infrastructure in the last few minutes in the last few minutes we did learn about a lot of traditional infrastructure, right? So we did learn that whenever a company gets a project, we are going to purchase a lot of servers, we are going to purchase these racks, and then I'm going to put my servers, and then I'm going to purchase my storage devices like DAS, SAN, NAS, RDBMS, and then all of these are going to be interconnected using the routers, pipelines, and the switches, and all this is basically done by an administrator who is going to help me with it. And this administrator is also going to ensure the firewall as well as the security for my complete infrastructure. This is how the traditional infrastructure is set up. Now, if you try to compare the traditional infrastructure with the Amazon Web Services Cloud, how is it basically built? Now, when we talk about these on-premise servers, we also have servers in the AWS cloud. So how are they built? Basically, I have a ready image. AMI is nothing but a Amazon machine image. So basically, they have a ready image for the Windows operating system, ready image for the Linux operating system, ready image for Ubuntu or anything as such. So basically, I just pick up that machine image and I can straight away start my EC2 instance. EC2 is nothing but a Elastic Cloud Compute. We basically call it as a virtual machine, right? So on this on-prem servers where you purchase the hardware and the racks, and then you launch your own server. In this, I do not have to purchase anything. I just need to select a specific operating system, and immediately I can launch my own virtual machine out of it, or a virtual server out of it. And when we talk about the networking devices, I need to have some routers, pipelines, switches, which is going to help me connect all the databases as well as the servers. But in this case, I straight away have a load balancer. Load balancer is going to get connected to this virtual servers, which is going to balance the complete load on how much traffic can flow to each virtual server. So the load balancer is going to balance the complete load. And then VPC I have, that is virtual private cloud. So I can create my own private cloud in which I can connect all of these devices, whether it is a server, whether it's a database or anything else. And I can also set up my own security groups and the network access control list. NACL is basically for network access control list. So whatever network I'm going to build, I'm going to secure them using the NACL and the security groups. So likewise, we have firewalls and the ACLs in our traditional infrastructure. In Amazon Web Services, we have security groups and the NACL. Now, there should be one administrator in our traditional infrastructure who can add the new people who will have access to all of this. But in this case, I'm going to use IAM. So my administrator is basically going to use the IAM service to cater the needs of who is going to have what level of access in the Amazon Web Services cloud. Next, if you talk about the storages in the databases, of course, we also have all those things in the Amazon Web Services cloud. So we have directly RDS service where you just can go ahead and spin up your own database, whether it's Oracle, MySQL or PostgreSQL. You can straight away get started with them. I have something like S3 where I can straight away store any kind of software, any kind of files like PNG files, images or video files or PDF files, anything as such. It's as same like a Google Drive. We call it as Amazon S3, that is simple storage service. And then we have EBS, that is a block store volume, elastic block store, in which I'll be able to go ahead and spin up my operating systems and store them, store the data, store the softwares and install them and run them. And then I have something like EFS. EFS is basically elastic file system. The best thing about the elastic file system is it automatically grows, it automatically shrinks. I do not have to worry about the size at all. So it automatically can grow on its own. Whenever the people are adding data, it will grow, and whenever people are deleting the data, it is automatically going to shrink. So I'm going to only pay for the amount of the data storage I'm using. That's it. So I do not have to configure any at the start itself by saying that I would require some 10 GB of space. No, you do not have to configure anything. You can start with as small as 0 bytes and you can go up to petabytes of data on the Amazon EFS. So let's talk about the advantages and benefits. Of course, we have discussed a lot of advantages of the cloud as well, but just quick overview. So the first is trade capital expense for a variable expense. So when we talk about a capital expense, yes, of course, when you are having your own private data center, first thing is you have to invest in getting all the storage devices, servers and other things, right? So there's a lot of capital expense that you need in order to set up a IT company earlier. Now it's fine. You can set up a company by being at home itself. So you can do your own freelancing, or you can have 4 developers along with you and you can get started by doing something as such. So trade capital expense for a variable expense. So I'm going to pay only for the amount of services that I'm going to use, right? That's why it says variable expense. And second is benefit from the massive economies of the scale. Now we all know the companies like AWS, companies like Google, companies like Azure, what are they trying to do? They are specifically trying to invest a lot in these data centers. So they are also upgrading the devices every now and then. And they also know that there are a lot of people who are moving to the cloud in the next upcoming years. So they need to really heavily invest in the databases. They need to heavily invest in the number of servers and other things. So since they are buying all these servers and the databases from the companies like Dell, SanDisk, EMC in a bulk, they are going to get it for a very cheaper cost. So they are basically buying it from a bulk quantity. So they are going to get it for a very cheap price. So they are also trying to pass that pricing discount to the end users as well. That is benefits from the massive economies of the scale. And the third is basically stop guessing about the capacity. When I'm in the cloud, I need not worry about the capacity. So if you think you have 10 users today and tomorrow it is going to become 1,000, it's very simple. You can just go ahead and increase the size of your server on the cloud. It's just a matter of seconds, right? So it becomes very easier when we talk about the things in the cloud. I do not have to worry about the capacity. So if you think you are going to get millions of users, that's fine. So today we know that Amazon.in has got millions of users across the world, right? It has got websites like Amazon.com. It has Amazon.in, Amazon.co.uk, Amazon.co.au. So it has got several domains and several peoples across the world who are trying to access their website. And I do not need to, I have increased speed and agility. So you know that in the cloud things can be much faster than the way we can do it in a normal traditional on-prem servers. That is on-premises server, we basically call it as on-prem. And then we stop spending money on running on maintaining data centers. That's the best thing I'll say. We don't have to spend any money on running or maintaining the existing data center at all. Everything is maintained by Amazon, and I'm just going to pay. I'm just going to go ahead and spin up some services there and going to go and use them. And I can go global in minutes. As you all know, you can develop the solutions within minutes, and then you can put it across to the end users immediately. So that are basically the advantages of the cloud. And talking about the Amazon Web Services, we do have a lot of different services in terms of messaging, in terms of compute, in terms of databases, in terms of networking, storage, and other things. So overall today, to say Amazon has got more than 2,420 services, and trust me, every year on year they are adding at least 500 new services and the features to the AWS cloud. So the late we get into this specific cloud vendors, we will lose a lot of things, right? So when I started in around couple of years back, yeah, currently it is now at the end of the third, I'm completing 3 years in the cloud. So when I started, it was just 1,500 or 1,200 services in the AWS cloud. But trust me, it's hard to catch up with all these 2,500 services, because they are investing a lot in different areas like IoT, like artificial intelligence, and lot of different things, right? So even the languaging like Lex, Poly, there are a lot of things that are available on the AWS cloud. But yes, it's hard to keep it up, but because there are a lot of services and the features that they are adding. But yes, it's still not late, but yes, we can get started off and learn a lot of things on the AWS cloud before it is adding up a lot of services. So now that we all know what is AWS cloud, what is cloud computing, now there's surely a eagerness in every one of us to learn, how do I get connected to the AWS cloud? How can I launch my own virtual server? Yes, it's very simple. You just need a mobile client, or you just need a computer, and you just need internet to get connected with the AWS cloud. So it's very simple. You just need to type aws.amazon.com, and then you can get started with the AWS cloud. So specifically to talk about, we are going to discuss about our AWS platform in our course from this slide, which talks from bottom to top. So we are going to learn about the global infrastructure first, and then the networking, and then the compute, storage, databases, and security part. On top of it, we are also going to see how analytics and the management tools are also set up. And rest apart from these application services, we'll have a little bit introduction. And we're also going to see about a little bit on mobile services and IoT things. But in detail, we are going to learn much more about compute, storage, databases, security, and identity. These are the 4 core areas which we are going to look in our case of the AWS course. So networking and global infrastructure are, of course, the important parts, because if we don't know these two, we'll not be able to launch any of these things, whether it is a compute, whether it is a storage, whether it is a database, or security. Now, in today's class, I'll just give you a quick and brief introduction about what we have in global infrastructure. So AWS global infrastructure is basically about 2 things: regions and the availability zones. So we are going to learn what is the region, what is the availability zone. Now let's look out at this world map. On this world map, you are able to see a lot of circles, and inside each circle there's a specific number. And there are some circles in the green color as well, apart from the orange. So the green circles are the one where the Amazon is going to set up its presence in next upcoming years, maybe in the 2018 or 2019. They are going to create their own global infrastructure in those regions. But the places where you see the orange circles, there Amazon has already set up its infrastructure. And the number that you are seeing in each circle is basically about the number of data centers inside that specific region. Now, if we talk about if you talk about the global infrastructure on this world map in the country India, we basically have it in Mumbai, and in Mumbai we have 2 data centers that we basically call it as availability zones. So region is nothing but a geographical location. So in our case, it is Mumbai in India, and it consists of minimum 2 availability zones. So any region where AWS has set up its global infrastructure, it will have minimum 2 availability zones for sure. And what is availability zone? Availability zone is nothing but a cluster of data centers. So basically, these 2 data centers are connected to each other. So even if one of them goes down, my data will be still available from the other one. That's why they call it as a availability zone. Now let me show you. Let's take an example of this Sydney Global Infrastructure Center, where they have got 3 availability zones. How this appears? This is how it is going to appear. So when I zoom inside it, this is a region. Inside the region, I have availability zone A, B, and C. If you see, all these are interconnected with each other. So whenever I'm trying to store any data in the Sydney region, it is automatically stored in the 3 availability zones. So my copy of data is stored in the 3 different availability zones, so that in case any one of the availability zone goes down due to some problem, let's say there's some power problem or there's some disaster that has happened near availability zone A and it has gone down. So still my data will be available for the usage from the availability zone B or C. That is the reason they name it as availability zone, because my data is always available for the access. Even though one of them is down, I'll still be able to access my data from the other availability zones. So specifically Google Cloud or Azure do not follow this specific maturity in terms of setting up the infrastructure. So Amazon is far ahead in setting up the infrastructure as well when compared to the other cloud vendors. So today they have more than 43 plus availability zones. So you can just imagine 43 availability zones. So a minimum each of them will have 2 or 3. So even if you consider as a 3, they have got 15 centers where they have set up the infrastructure. So if you see, 3 are in the West America, 3 in the East America, 1 in South America, 3 of them near Ireland, London, and the Frankfurt. Few of them in London, Singapore. Few of them one of them in India, one of them in Singapore, Sydney, Tokyo, China, and Japan. Yeah. So these are all basically the specifically at this moment of time, all the data centers are 99.99999% available. It's hardly people have seen any downtime until from the day the servers have been launched. Yes, of course, there was one time the problem in the North Virginia. This is the one where they had a problem, and that region is heavily used. That is the only case because of which they have put in 6 availability zones. Today it is currently 5 here, but it is today they have set up 6 availability zones in the North Virginia section, because it is one of the heavily used areas apart from any of the global infrastructure set up by the Amazon. So this center that is in North Virginia has got 6 availability zones. There was once a problem with the S3 bucket where someone has uploaded some code or which went wrong, and it went into an infinite loop. But just rest apart from that, Amazon has never seen a downtime in any one of the data centers across the world. So that was about the global infrastructure. So basically we have to remember what is called as a region, what is called as a availability zone. So region is basically a geographical location, and availability zone is basically a cluster of data centers. And in each region we'll have minimum of 2 availability zones. Now let's try to consider an example of zooming into any other 2 regions. So here in this case, let's say I'm trying to zoom in into the region that is North Virginia. So I have 5 availability zones as per the diagram, and all of them are interconnected to each other. So if any one of them still goes down, I still have the access of the data from the other data center. So whenever I'm trying to store anything in the US East North Virginia, automatically it is going to create 5 different copies of the same data so that it is available all the time for me. And same is the case with the Asia Pacific Tokyo. It has got 3 availability zones. All of them are interconnected to each other, and in case if any downtime or anything happens on any one of the data center, I'll still be able to access it from the other one which is available online, right? So this was about the global infrastructure. Similarly, we are going to also learn about the networking, compute, storage, database, security, and identity sections in very much detail. So I'll just give you a glimpse on what is available in each of these platforms. So in terms of networking, we are going to learn how to set up our own private cloud, how to host websites using the Route 53, and how we can get a direct connection with the AWS cloud platform bypassing the internet. So if you think you want to have a dedicated connection to the AWS cloud, you need to have a direct connect. And then we are also going to learn in detail about the computing section, where we are going to learn in detail about our EC2 section, that is about virtual servers, how we can launch our virtual servers, how we can play around with them in terms of a Linux machine or a Windows machine, how we can do a load balancing, how we can set up a highly available system, and how we can create a fault tolerant system. So we are going to learn everything in the part of our compute section. And as a part of our storage services, we are going to learn what are the different types of storages which is available on the AWS platform, like S3, like EFS, CloudFront, Glacier, and Snowball and storage AWS. So we are going to see through each of these services on what can I do with the storage services. And then in terms of databases also, we are going to look through the SQL and NoSQL databases. So in terms of SQL, we have the RDS databases. So in RDS, I basically have 6 types of database: MariaDB, AuroraDB, Oracle, PostgreSQL, MySQL. All these are available in the RDS database. And specifically in terms of NoSQL database, we have a DynamoDB, which is an offering from Amazon itself. So Amazon has by itself created a DynamoDB. And then we also have Elastic Cache Engines, which will improve the performance of my databases. And in order to do some analytics, I'll use Redshift. And in order to migrate some existing services from my on-premise server to the AWS cloud, I'll basically use the DMS, that is Database Migration Service. Yeah, basically, we'll come down to the questions in a little while, Jagmohan. So these are basically all the foundation services that we are going to put in our hand through. We are going to learn in detail about compute, networking, storaging, security and identity, a little bit about our applications. And then about databases, we are going to learn. And then about application services, yes, something on management tools. So we are going to get into not all of them, but yes, the most important services, which are like compute, network, storage, security and identity, databases, and the management tools. So these are the most important tools that we are going to look forward for. So this is the content of our course where we are going to learn through. So first we are going to go learn with the security, and then the storage, then the compute, networking, databases, application services, and then finally with the security white papers, and then we are going to put it across the sample project later on. So any questions, queries from any one of you on our introduction session part here?
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pawan. My name is Anil.
Yeah, Anil.
I just joined. It's about to finish. I think I'm sorry for a late, but I have one question. As far as the OLAP cubes are concerned, do this AWS support OLAP cubes?
No, I didn't get the lab.
The OLAP, I mean the three-dimensional cubes I'm talking about.
What kind of dimensional cube? I didn't get that portion specifically.
I'm talking about OLAP, online analysis processing. It's supported, right? On the cloud.
Yeah. Yes, it's supported.
Okay, right. Okay.
Yeah, this is Kapil. Can you hear me?
Yes, Kapil, tell me.
Yeah, so as you told, there are 8 certifications.
Yes.
So just want to know which are they and which individually those certificates can be used as per which respectively platforms. Like for example, if I'm a developer, so which certification I should do? Or else if I'm a networking guy, so which certification I should do? Like that. So which are those 8?
Yeah, so this is solutions architect, first associate. So there are 2 types. First, basically they are classifying at an associate, and there is professional level. Okay, so in associate they have 3 of them. So one of them is AWS Solutions Architect Associate, and second is Developer Associate, and the third is AWS SysOps, that is for administration. And if you want to go ahead and pursue a professional career in any of these specific lines, so after Solutions Architect Associate, you guys may want to look for something like Solutions Architect Professional. And if you have done some developer or SysOps, then you can go for AWS DevOps. So these are the 5 certifications first. That is associate level 3 base certifications, we call it as. And then we have professional. And currently they have launched in the 2006 specialized certifications. So if you think you are a network engineer, you can go for networking. If you think you are a security engineer, you can go for security. And if you think you are a big data specialist, you can go for a big data specialization. So if you have specialization in any one of these things, you can go for a specialized certification. But to start with, we go with associate certification, that is AWS Solutions Architect Associate or a developer. So these are the 2 base level certifications that we concentrate on.
Okay, so actually, sorry, I'm not finished yet.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so I can continue, right?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. We'll answer all the queries. No worries.
Yeah, sure. So as I am a LSF admin, I always deal with the compute servers. So which certification you will suggest me?
So I would suggest you to pick up the SysOps.
Okay. Okay.
So as a part of our course, we basically cover all these 3 certification parts, whether it is an architect associate or a developer or a SysOps. But usually people go ahead and do the architect associate first because that is where all the core services come into picture. In the SysOps, we basically talk about little bit administration. But if you want to really understand how databases are working, how virtual private cloud is set up, how routing hosting is being done, so all those things are basically covered up in the architect. After the architect level, how to explore them in much more administration side, right? There comes the SysOps. So basically, I would suggest first for any entry level, go for this certification, Solutions Architect Associate. On top of it, you can choose to go for a developer or maybe a SysOps.
Okay. Thank you. I'm done.
Hi, Pawan.
Yeah, hi.
This is Mahesh. See, I'm a storage admin. So just want to know which course is better for me and which certification is better for the storage admin. And also do I require any basic knowledge about networking or the databases before going on for the course?
Yeah, so the best thing about our course, I'll tell you, you do not require any prerequisite of a knowledge or any specific skill when we are going to start with AWS. Of course, there might be a lot of new things for us to learn through. When I started with the AWS and the cloud, trust me, I was just a developer before or a consultant in which I have worked as only in the Visual Script, Visual Basic scripting. But rest apart, I didn't had any other skills to get started with. But with this course, we are going to also touch upon the basics of Linux administration, basics of the networking, and all those things are covered. So as a part of getting into this course, we do not have to have any specific prerequisites to get started with AWS. You can be a storage admin, you can be a developer, you could have been a consultant, or you could have been something else as in your role. But there's no prerequisite as such to get inside this course and to start learning. We are going to cover the basics of each and everything, whether it is a networking, whether it is a hosting a domain, whether it is about a Linux operating system, or whether it is a Windows operating system. We are going to learn the basics of each of all these things, and then we are going to set up a solution on top of it.
Okay, thanks for the grade.
Hi Pawan, this is Hemant here.
Yeah,
Hello?
Hemant. Yeah, Hemant.
Yeah, currently I am working as a cloud solution architect in Mumbai. So I want to learn the AWS as a platform for AWS solution architect as a professional services. So do you have any fast track course for 7 days or 8 days? So we currently we are planning to 4 to 5 peoples to come down to the Hyderabad and do the fast track course at around 7 to 8 days. So that will be great and helpful to us for us.
So currently we do not have any fast track, but maybe yes, we can check with the visual path and we can plan it accordingly if possible.
Yes.
So surely
So you
we'll
can
take.
check with.
I'll also have a word with people, and we can have a discussion, and then we'll see if we can get it across to be done that part of fast track which can complete it in 6 to 7 days?
Yes. So we have around 4 to 5 people.
Yeah.
We are we are coming down to Hyderabad from Mumbai itself. So that's not
Okay.
an issue for us. But
Okay.
currently we are working, so we are not able to come down to the Hyderabad and join for 1.5 month and 1 month. So it is not suitable for us. So if you have
Okay.
any kind of course, please let us know so we can have a plan with together and do the certification and courses.
Sure. Sure. Yeah. So we have both the things, offline training as well as online training. So of course, as you said, we can also pitch up for the fast track training, which can be completed in 7 days, or we can also check if you guys are also feasible with the online training that we just took it like today. We can also have a hourly session every day, which goes up to 30 days, and we can get our things completed. So that is also feasible. Of course, we'll also check on that part which you said, which can be completed in 7 days and other things. So we'll try to work out on the feasibility, Hemant, and whichever is feasible, we'll go with that for part.
Yes, 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 yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi Pawan, Murali here.
Yeah. Hi.
Yeah, Pawan, I'm a traditional Solaris administrator and also know the Linux also, basic knowledge on the Linux.
Mhm.
And on which course you will suggest to me or on the AWS?
Yeah. So I guess for you also this will be suggestible. Go with the AWS Solutions Architect Associate certificate first, and then on top of it, since you are already worked on the Solaris and other things, SysOps will be the better one to go with the next.
Thank you, Pawan.
Hi Pawan, this is Mike again.
Murali.
I'm a admin, so just want to know what kind of certification is better for me.
You are also from
For the
admin background.
I'm a storage admin, SAN admin.
So yeah, same again here. So Solutions Architect Associate first, and then a SysOps.
Thank you.
Hi Pawan, this is Mani.
Yeah, Mani.
Pawan, I have a small scenario like basically I'm a middleware administrator.
Mhm.
Okay, I have my own application and currently it is in live. Okay, this application is got hosted in some XYZ server. Okay, please note that this is currently in live and it is currently serving end user request.
Mhm.
Okay, and now I would like to migrate my application to AWS server.
Yeah.
Okay, so now what kind of actions I have to take to get this application migrated to AWS?
So especially first we'll have to assess what all middleware components you are using, what is your front-end component, how is it communicating, and then we'll have to set up across those in our AWS. First we'll have to create our dev environment and then the staging environment. So specifically we create the first dev environment where we are going to set up everything after assessing it, and then we are going to test it out if it's working fine in the dev environment, and then in the staging we can just play around with a little production data and see how it is working or how it is communicating seamlessly, and then we can make a final cutoff from your existing on-prem servers to the cloud.
Okay, okay, good. Cool. And one more thing, like I'm a middleware administrator. I used to work like I work as like a WebSphere and JBoss administrator. Like I just wanted to know which certification is suitable for me.
Yeah, for you also SysOps would be better, but as I said, Solutions Architect Associate is a base for all these certifications. So get started with the Solutions Architect because it is going to cover all the important components, and then you can move on to the SysOps where you're going to look out how to do administration on each of these components, whether it's a middleware or even if it is a complete backend administration, whether in terms of databases, in terms of server administration, all those things.
Okay. And one more thing, like once we join in the course, like can we expect the real-time scenarios, like how we are connecting and how we are doing everything, like some kind of our labs with a real setup we can expect, right?
Yeah, I'll give you a insight into how the real-time things are happening, where I'm working in the real time. I'll just give you an insight what we are doing with our servers. We are basically migrating our Windows servers where we have .NET applications, Java-based applications, as well as the SAP-based applications, which we are currently migrating from the on-prem to the AWS cloud. So I'll give you an insight on how we are taking up the steps. and how in our scenario, whenever we are discussing a specific section, I'll give you a case scenario
Yes, sir.
explanation how we are using this specific solution into the implementation in our case.
Okay. Okay. Super. Okay. Thank you. That's it.
Yes, so we also have some more questions on the chat. Do you have others? Do you have any other questions before I pick up some questions from the chat?
Yeah, I have just one small quick question.
Sure, Raghavendra.
Kapil here actually.
Okay, Kapil. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, so that small quick question is nothing but we should know the scripting before joining the AWS?
No,
No,
as such
right?
is not required. No, as such is not required for this part of our course. But recommendation will be, as we go in further future, recommendation will be to pick up the Python scripting.
Python, right?
Yes, Python can help you in all the ways, whether he's an administrator, whether he's a developer or any other person. It is going to help each and everyone if they pick up the Python as a skill.
Okay, so for example, if someone is completely unknown for the Python script and also before joining the AWS course, are we conducting any basic like?
Do not worry. Currently, even I do not know Python. Even I have started learning it. It's been 3 years I'm working, but I have not been into Python yet. I am also learning it because there are some components that we can actually automate it. So
Correct.
those things are further in the future. But it's fine to get started with the AWS cloud without Python at this moment of time. But looking forward for the future perspective, I would say Python is the language that you guys should concentrate on after we learn the AWS cloud, because Python is like icing on the cake. That you can see
Got
for
it.
AWS.
Got it. Okay, yeah, thanks.
Yeah, so I have few comments on the chat box. Let's pick it up.
So I'm Raghavendra.
Yeah, Raghavendra, please go ahead.
I'm electrical background. Till now, I don't have any experience in software field, but I want to learn software AWS course. Is it preferable for me?
Yeah, if you want to pursue a career in IT, then yes, surely you can look forward. So you are currently working somewhere, or you are still a college graduate?
College graduate.
Okay, surely you can look forward. There's nothing wrong. Even I come from electrical engineering background, and today I'm working in the software industry.
Okay, I can get in this course. Whether
Yes. Surely you can get in this course, because you will learn the complete basics on what are the different storages, how are the servers launched, what you can do with the servers, how you can host your own websites, or how you can create your own networking components. So all of this is something that we are going to cover up as a part of course. So you are going to learn a lot of new things as well if you're going to shift onto this specific path.
Okay, how many hours this course will take?
Basically, it is of 30 hours of course. So basically, we have 30 to 33 sessions every day, 1 hour.
Okay. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. So we have a few questions on the chat box. One from the Jagan Mohan. So he is working as a storage and the server administrator to become AWS professional. Do I need to learn all three, IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS? So as a part of our course, we do cover all three of them, IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. Because broadly to classify, let me show you how AWS console first appears. I'll go down to my AWS console here. So this is how the AWS console basically appears up. So in this, when I click on services, we have all the different type of services. So if I talk about the EC2, which is basically where I can launch my own virtual servers, this is called as IaaS. That is infrastructure as a service, because I have a option to choose my own operating system, whether it's a Windows, whether it's a Linux, whether it's a Sun Solaris, whether it's a Ubuntu, right? That is about IaaS. When I talk about S3, this is software as a service, because it's same like a Google Drive, where I'm going to pick up the data from my computer and directly store it on. When I talk about the RDS, it is PaaS, that is platform as a service. So the platform for the Oracle database is ready inside this. I just need to go ahead and select RDS and then say I want an Oracle database, of so and so configuration, and I can get started immediately with it. Let me show you a very small glimpse here. This is how it shows. So I already have 6 different engines which are available. So if you think I want to go ahead and start with the Microsoft SQL Server, or maybe the Oracle, or maybe MySQL, so you can pick up any one of the database here and then get started immediately. All you have to configure is few more options in this case here. That is, what is the use case you want it for, like production or production environment or development environment, and specify your user ID password for the database, and then you can get started with it immediately. So that is about PaaS. So we are basically going to touch across on all the different services. Some of them are IaaS services, some of them are PaaS services, some of them are SaaS services as well. So that was the answer for your question, Jagan Mohan. And second, we had one more question from Madhu. What are the basic skills required to be AWS consultant? Currently, I would say if you have worked in a little time for software industry also, that's great. But even if not, that's also fine. To get started with this AWS course, we are going to learn a lot of different sections about compute, storage, databases, networking. Let me minimize the screen here. And just go back. Yeah, so there are a lot of services in terms of networking, databases, storage, compute, security, application services, messaging. So we are going to cover a lot of different services as part of our course. So there's no specific skill that is required in here to get started with. And scripting language good for automation. I would say once you look forward for the future, I would suggest Python is the best one to get started with. And for the people who are already into administration, whether it's a Linux or Windows administration or maybe the middleware administration, my suggestion would be to pick up the first Solutions Architect Associate exam, and then rest after that you can go for SysOps. Yes, as a part of our course, we are going to study the base of all the 3 associate certifications, whether it's a developer, Solutions Architect Associate, or the SysOps. We are going to study about all the 3 base level certifications. So you guys are free to choose whatever certification you guys want to do at the end of this course. So I guess I have almost answered all the queries on the chat box. If still someone feels his query is missing, please let me know.
Yeah, this is Kapil again.
Yeah, Kapil.
Yeah, so as we just discussed, if anyone is administration, so we just go for associate certification and then SysOps. So
Correct.
in our course, additionally, as per this latest certification, like specialized you told, right? So for
Yeah.
example, if I want to have a security in specialized one, so can I get into that certificate, that course itself, or else will it be like something extra or something?
Yeah, it will be a complete separate course, because as a part of security, we have to look at a lot of different components. Like there we might need a little knowledge on ethical hacking. Like if you know about DDoS attacks or the SQL injection scripts, so those things are like little prerequisite for security, right? So that's a little different course. So of course, about security, we can start off, but it's a complete separate course out of this AWS Solutions Architect and associate level course. It's separate from that.
Okay. And same for networking and big data also.
Yes. Those specialized certifications basically require you to have a certain knowledge in those areas. Like networking, if people already know what is VPN, what is border gateway protocols, so if they know how to get connected with it. And in terms of security, as I just said, DDoS attacks, mitigation attacks, or SQL injection scripts, if they know what are these kind of attacks, how do we protect it from securing it. And in terms of big data, basically they need to know about what is HDFS, Hadoop file system, how it actually works, and what is the mappers and reducer, how is actually EMR, that is how we process the data in the big data. So those things are little prerequisites when you go for a specialized certifications.
Yeah, really makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, I'm done.
Yeah.
Hi Pawan, this is Mahesh again.
Yeah, Mahesh, please go ahead.
Can you let me know the course duration?
Yeah, course duration is specifically of up to 30 to 33 hours, 1 hour per day.
Okay.
And whatever course we are going to go through as a part of this one, all the sessions will be recorded and that will be given it back to you guys so that you can look at back at your own convenience, as well as whatever labs we are going to do, those you guys will be able to practice it on your own AWS account. There is no cost that is going to be incurred when you are going to practice these labs. Of course, there are few labs which are going to incur a little cost. It is not going to be more than $5 after the end of this course. Trust me, I'm just giving it on a higher note, that is a $5. It should not be more than $2 as far as I have seen it. So $2 is approximately 120 to 140 rupees at most. So that is the only cost that you are going to incur on your AWS account if you practice out all the labs that we are going to do. And our course is basically going to cover up 90% of the course content as a practical portion and 10% as a theory part. So 90% we are going to do each and every service that we are going to learn is as a part of hands-on documentation itself. So hands-on, we are going to do each and every lab. Along with the documentation, I'm going to provide how do we do the steps for each lab so that you guys can practice it on your own convenience.
Hello, Pawan.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is Anil. I'm
Yeah.
calling from United States. So how soon this course gonna start? Because I just want to know the timing because I fall into MST. So I just want to know how I can work on the timings. And how soon you guys gonna start kick off? Sorry to interrupt you. How soon you gonna kick off for the first session? So I just want to make sure.
The first session we are planning to kick off this Thursday. That is the plan. Like Thursday or Friday, we are going to get kickstart of this first session for this course.
Okay.
Specifically, like there will be few more queries that people would have, and they would interact with Visual Path as well, along with the timings for each of the person, how is it feasible, and other things. So based upon that, I look forward to start the first session on the Thursday of this week.
And if I'm interested in this training, so probably I will need to get in touch with whom because I just looking for the timings as well. I fall in MSD, so
okay.
I just want to make sure the timing.
Yeah, so in the chat box we do have Visual Path, who is also a part of organizer. So you have to connect with them specifically for the timings, help you up on what timings we are going to get started with.
Gotcha. And you will be the trainer, right?
Yes, I
will
will
be the trainer for all 30 to 33.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks. So any more questions, queries that you guys still have, please feel free to put it across.
Yeah, sorry, this is Kapil again. Maybe I'm asking so many questions.
It's fine, Kapil, because when we are going to learn something new, there are a lot of things that actually go through our mind. That's very much fine. But yes,
nothing. That is very small, quick question again. So as so many people might be working already, right? So even some people will have rotation shifts and so on. So as per that flexible timing, we have that facility, right? So for example, maybe 1 week I will be attending the class in morning, or sometime I will be able to attending the class in the evening. So trainers will be the same, right? So trainers will not be a change, or is the timing factors? What's that exactly?
Yeah, we do have different trainers as well, but I do pick up some of the training batches. So in case if you have missed any one of them, you may always prefer to get back on any of the missed sessions. You can specify them which trainer you want to attend with back. So if you are specifically attending my classes, you can always give them a call saying whenever my parallel, I have a couple of batches going on parallelly. So if you haven't missed
Correct.
anyone of the class specifically, you can ask them what is a specific topic going on, and then you will be able to join in that part. That's not a
Correct.
problem.
Correct. Because obviously there should not be a like good trainer or a bad trainer. But for
Correct.
example, if I already starting with you only, so I will be able to understand your scenarios and everything. So suddenly, if
Correct.
I'm getting another trainer, so that will be really difficult for me. I
Correct.
hope you are understanding me.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah, yeah. Means the way
Yeah.
you explain, the way other explain, that really matters.
Correct. Correct. Yeah, we do have that legibility. You can move around. If you have missed some classes, of course, surely my parallel batches will be going on, so you can join in one of the batches.
Correct.
So you can get the training link back from the visual path, so that you will be able to join in between any of the missed sessions that you have.
Mm-hmm. Okay, got it, got it. That's really good, actually. Thanks, thanks.
Yeah. So we have one more question. As a part of our course, the question is certification included in the course curriculum, or do we need to take it separately? So the certification, you need to take it is separately. We are just including the content of the course, which is helping you to crack down the exam. And the cost associated with all associate level courses is $150. That comes up to 10,500 rupees. And cost associated with the professional is about $300. That is double the cost here. So this is the cost of certification. So I hope I was able to give you a better introduction onto the what is cloud and what is AWS, and was able to help you cater along all your questions that you guys had.
Yeah, yeah, it was really awesome.
Yeah, thanks for your inputs. And we have one more question: is there any difference in the offline and online course? No, not much difference. Online course is also the same. Basically, I would show the same lab what I'm trying to show it in the offline as well, and in this online also I would be showing the same, just that we will be connected to the audio with the help of our mic and the computer. That is the only difference that we have in the online or offline course. So I wish everyone to see on board. So whenever we are getting started with this batch, it was great having you all on this specific introduction session. And I hope I was able to help you all guys to make understand what is cloud and where the future is going all about. So I wish to look forward with working with all of you. Thanks everyone. So if you have any comments or inputs for me, you can just put it on down on the chat box there.